of life's true joys is watching the sunset in Paris, then heading out to dine at a grand restaurant. Today I'm making two dishes from two famous chefs. The first is duck and hibiscus that comes from Alain Passard, though I have modified this to use just the breast and not the entire strangled duck that he asked for. The second is a Chartreuse soufflé from Joël Robuchon, the late great chef who used to serve it with pistachio ice cream. I hope you enjoy. Let's begin by making our hibiscus sauce. I have here a saucepan with olive oil heating up, and what I have here is a mirepoix of aromatic vegetables, onions, carrots, celery, plus a parsnip. And in that is going to go, because we need to just sweat, I believe is the word, sweat the onions a little bit so that they'll turn sweet. Our onions have turned translucent, so now we'll move on to the next step, which is to add some liquid. And in this case, we're going to use a base of orange juice, and with that some water, a sprig of thyme, a few black peppercorns. Well, actually this is star anise that goes into star anise, black peppercorns, and then here it is, the hibiscus that comes dried, normally from Mexico when you order it. So we're going to put all that in there together, bring it back to the boil, put the lid on it and simmer it slowly for an hour. At that point I will strain it out and reduce it, and we will see what we have. Our sauce is reduced, I've strained it, and it looks for the most part pretty good. To my taste it needs to be just a little thicker, so I have right here some potato starch, and I'm going to put just a little bit of that. It's dissolved in water. I'm going to put just a little bit of that in there and bring this up to the boil. French sauces are not thick. They tend to be very thin to begin with. So we're going to clarify it. I have carrots here with an egg white, and that's just going to go right on the end. I'm going to stir it up. Then I'm going to turn it back on a very low heat, and a crust will form. I've just finished taking off the raft, and we're left with a much clearer, lovely sauce. I did want to taste it just to see once more what. It's sweet enough, it doesn't need any enhancement there. Once we add the final butter, that is going to be just a beautiful sauce. For now, we can put it aside and go on with the duck. I have here some vegetables to go along with our duck. In orange juice and a pinch of salt are simmering red cabbage, parsnips, and carrots. I'm going to braise that, and then I'll make a puree of the parsnips, and I'll coat the other two with butter before putting them on the plate. My duck has been scored. That's the first step. You take the fat layer and you score that so the fat will come off. Into a cast iron skillet on medium heat it goes. We'll cook that about 6 minutes on one side, flip it, cook it about 1 minute on the other side, then turn it again fat side down and in the oven for 7 minutes. The oven is at 400 degrees. When it comes out of the oven, I'm going to coat it with honey and 5-spice powder, put foil over it, and then let it rest for 5 minutes, and it will be ready to plate. Our duck is cut and plated. The last thing we need to do is add this beautiful sauce that we've worked so hard on. Put that right on like that. And then, perhaps just to liven it up, a nice rose in the center. And there you have it, canette à la sauce d'hibiscus. Our souffle begins with a base, and in this case what I've done is puree a banana with coconut sugar, some cornstarch, a pinch of salt. And that's it to this point. And now we're going to add the good stuff, which is Chartreuse. This is an interesting liqueur made by monks in the Alps, and you don't need a lot, just about a tablespoon. A word of advice: if you have a lighted candle, don't put it near a bottle of open Chartreuse. The proof is so high it could explode. You could probably power a jet on that alone. It's an acquired taste, but I happen to like it, and it does a lovely job with a souffle. So we have here an egg white that needs to be incorporated. Now that I think on it, I put an egg yolk into the souffle base too, in this case, because I wanted to enrich it a little bit. And so now it's just a question of folding egg whites. The first Atelier de Joël Robuchon opened in Paris in the middle of a horrible heat wave in the summer of 2003. People were lining up to get in, not only because of the innovative cuisine, but also to get some air conditioning. And it was the first of this new style of restaurant that Robuchon had developed, where instead of tables, you just are seated at a bar next to somebody who you probably don't know. And the idea was to communicate with that person and build bridges and learn new things about new people. Well, wouldn't you know it, when I went, I was seated beside an eccentric French woman who had 2 dogs with her, and she would throw little pieces of bread to the dogs at her feet every once in a while, but the most of the time she talked about how rich she was, and how well-to-do and how well-traveled and everything, etc. Now, that's an oddity in itself, because most French people don't like to talk about money. Since the days of the guillotine, it's best to pretend you don't have it. But she went on and on. And then she complained about everything. This was too hot, that was too cold, there was too much salt, it was too sour. Not a thing did she like. And so finally, the waiter came over and offered her for free this souffle that I'm showing you right here. And she willingly had it. I think they really just wanted to get rid of her, but whatever the case, she gladly took the souffle. All right, that now goes into a 400-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, and then we're going to serve it with pistachio ice cream.